Hey traders, it's Ryan from leprivatebanker.com. Just going to do a quick recap on what we've seen here on crude oil the past week. It's been a pretty spectacular show, as expected with last week with the OPEC news that was coming out and etc. We already ran through this, so I won't go into it any further. So I'm just going to quickly touch base on some of the high time frame stuff, and then I will run through how I handled trading crude the last sort of couple days. So okay, so quickly touch base on the higher time frame stuff. Just quickly look. We'll start off with the Globex. So we have so this was the news that came out, and we just basically saw on the Wednesday we just saw a very sharp sell-off, and then on the Friday we continued to see this market sell off. So just two huge down days on crude after the OPEC meeting. So I mean, on them sort of days, we just go with the breakout and sell the imbalance. Just very nice days, easy days to trade if you know what the market is doing structurally. I'll go into that shortly. So and then since then we came in on the Monday, and overnight in Globex we see this very sharp punch down down to 93. I swear it's not 72. Yeah, 72. I've got it marked up differently on my charts. Hold on. Yeah, sorry, 93.72. I had 25 for some reason I'm not aware of. And we saw a very sharp spike down, and then in the process of this happening, there were some huge orders getting filled. I mean, I did post these on Twitter and etc. And there was just this huge iceberg order that came in every 25 cent, with 500 contracts being traded every 25 cents. So there was clearly some sort of something going on at this current low, and then into that day we opened inside day on the pit session, and we just see this huge move all the way back up to these previous highs here at this sort of $69-70 a barrel area, which was just another amazing move. And then obviously today we opened up at the top of the previous day's range, and we just basically see a 3-day balance after this carnage from last week now. So we'll just quickly look at that in the pit session RTH trade, and you can see that there's the gap down on the Wednesday, and then obviously the market opened up and we just see this market get blasted down, and on the Thursday another blast down. The Friday, there we go, we opened up inside the bottom of the range, so we want to be a buyer and back up to the highs, and so we've seen two inside days now from that punch down Friday. So there's going to be, obviously we've got this nice low now at this 60 high, $63 a barrel, and there's going to be clear stops building above and below this. So whatever way we break from this current balance will most likely be the new directional move, and to me we do have a pretty secure low now at this $64 a barrel, and we're trading pretty far away from any established value. I mean, if we look at this quarter's developing value, I mean, we've traded very far away from it, so value is playing catch up with price, and obviously last month we're trading very far away, and this week we literally just tested the latest sample of value yesterday, which was Monday. We came back and tested this. So obviously on the macro perspective, all the macro values are playing catch up with price now. So obviously we have seen responsive buying from these lower prices, because we were just in no man's land on the higher time frames. I mean, if we quickly touch base on the weekly, I mean, you can see the sort of the magnitude of this move down on last week. And then this week we're seeing an inside week. So as long as we hold this $66 a barrel area, then the expectation is to see rotations, two-way trade, and possibly higher prices. So I mean, on the spike down we tested this key support at this sort of $60 a barrel, and from there we found buyers off of this 64 little level here. You can see it's a very important level this is. I'm not too sure why it's not marked up, but as you can see, some very important levels here, and we've seen responsive off here. So if we hold this week as a compression week, and then next week we break the one time framing down. I mean, we've seen one time framing now for 1, 2, 3, 4, so a good sort of 8 to 10 weeks, possibly even more. I can't even be bothered to count anymore. I mean, we're just seeing lower lows continuously now. So again, it would be interesting to see if we hold this week as a compression week and then possibly break the one time framing next week down. I mean, we're still one time framing on the monthly also, and we've come down to this next sort of key support, which is very, very visual again. And but we've seen a clear breakaway from this upper balance now. So I mean, the next stage now would be to come back and test this sort of $75 to $78 a barrel level, and then to continue to see if we find sellers in this market. I mean, we're in a downtrend now. We've broken out of macro balance. I mean, we can see on the monthly that we've seen a clear breakout, and the expectation now again is just to rotate back to $76 a barrel possibly. But if we look at the yearly, I mean, we've just seen a massive breakout here. I mean, you can see, same as 2008, we see that two-way trade balance obviously on a smaller scale, and then we just see these breakout. I mean, we have currently broken out, and we are currently in price exploration to the downside on the macro time frame. So we're seeing obviously macro long liquidation here. I mean, any longs that have been accumulating these prices over the last sort of 5-6 years are now liquidating any positions due to risk. So I mean, this has the potential to possibly move all the way back down to $33 a barrel. I mean, there is no reason why the market cannot do that. I mean, obviously the global economy and OPEC, etc., but it is the way it is. This is an auction. This is the current distribution bell curve, and this is the current market low. I mean, if we look, we've literally been in this trading range since 2008. Since the crash in 2008, we've been in this trading range. All we've done on a macro perspective time frame is we've auctioned higher, and we met sellers. No one was willing to buy higher, so we balance, and now the market's broken. You know what I mean? We've broken. We're seeing the new market unfold now. So obviously we just have to continue to read this as the auction process as any time frame, whether it's a day time frame or it's a yearly time frame auction. It's the same process, same thought process. And at the moment we are broken out of balance, and we're seeing exploration to the sell side, and we are trying to find buyers. That is what the market is trying to do. The market is there to facilitate trade, and the market is trying to find a buyer at the moment. Until we find a buyer and we see some balance come in on the macro time frames, then the path of least resistance is still to the downside, and we are still in price exploration to the downside. So just be interesting to see what happens here. I mean, we have 1 month left of this year, so this is the last month of 2014, and then we go into 2015 territory, and God knows what we have in prepared for next year now. So again, we just have to take this day by day, week by week, month by month, and year by year, and we can go from there. So interestingly enough though, since we see this large spike bottom on Monday, today we've seen a pullback to that 50% of that day. So it'd just be interesting to see what way we break out of this two-way 2-3 day balance now. I mean, the fast time frame moving averages are catching up price, so just have to wait for the reaction now, I guess, and move forward from there. I mean, I'm not predicting that this is a currently year low at 63.72, but it might possibly well be. I mean, considering this is the month, and again we've seen this fast V-shaped recovery, and again the latest sample of value. I mean, the market was trading in this $73 to $80 a range for quite a while, and obviously these are very familiar prices, obviously from last month. So again, I would say that the first objection for this month is to see reversions back to this area, and then we go from there. I mean, unless this market is very, very bearish still, and there are still higher time frame sellers, then again that would be the objective. Obviously, if we continue to trade this month and we can't trade above $70 a barrel, or we can't break above this 69.60, then obviously there's only one thing to do, and that's the market to go sideways and to go down. But obviously at the moment, as I said, this looks like quite a firm bottom in the market in a minute, so we'll just have to go from there. So regards how I traded the last couple of days, I'll quickly show you. So on the Wednesday, we just see this two-way trade. I mean, I was in the pit session. I mean, I was just buying the lows and selling the highs. I mean, it was just I don't care where we're trading, if it's the yearly high, if it's the yearly low, if it's the all-time highs, all-time lows. Once we have a bracket and range, I will buy the highs and I will sell the lows all day long. So, I mean, at 9 o'clock we opened, the crude oil inventories came out and I was a buyer here, and we see the market punch higher. And we just see two-way trade. Once the market came back into balance and we couldn't trade back into this value area on the day, I mean, I just closed up my position and went short. It's quite simple. I mean, I've seen some people talking about this. Obviously everyone knew the path of least resistance to the sell side. Everyone knew that the market was going to sell off. I mean, anyone who knew what they were talking about. But obviously this day was a compression accumulation day. So, I mean, and we were at the lows and this was the highest. So, again, just buy the highest, sell the lows. As a day trader, that's what I'm going to do. On the Thursday that the news came out, which was Thanksgiving, I was supposed to be off, but obviously with this undergoing, I was not going to miss it. So as soon as we opened 9 o'clock, I mean, just we're already broken out, we'd already gapped down, we already knew it was going to go. So it was basically just finding a short entry, and missed that off of 9 o'clock, and then obviously off the open we see that 2 periods of just the initial balance came in, and I was just selling Vwap there with stops above obviously the highs, and yet behold the market came out and we just see it get dumped here. So I mean, I just held it all the way down and just exited into the close here. I mean, there was no reason to stay short, especially with this on the cards here. So I mean, that was that done. And then the next day, similar sort of thing happened here. I mean, where's 9 o'clock? So 9 o'clock came in, again we're inside value. I basically waited for the market just to come inside value, and I started to sell this at, I was just looking for any confidence to sell this. It was just so obvious this was going to happen. And again, I'm not going to run through it, the specific entries that I was looking at, but I mean, you can clearly see here, we see the initial balance come in, they spiked above the initial balance, there was a lot of absorption here, and then the market just sold off. And we just one time frame the whole day, all the way down. So again, there's just no reason to exit short positions into the close. There was no reason to. Obviously the market closed early on Thursday and on Friday, so just into the close where there was no more to be done. That's it. I was out. We came in on the Monday, and overnight we see this big just spike down. I mean, the market opened and there was just, I don't know if it was margin calls or there was someone purposely selling this down to get long. But I mean, again, this is where I got up early Monday because I had a feeling that something funny was going to happen, and I started to trade this around here. I mean, the market, we see this range form, and then we see a big spike down. There's a huge amount of absorption down here. The market didn't trade around this area for very long, and again, we started to see them, like I said, them 500 block trades being traded in the market. I mean, it was just, I think these are this here. I mean, at 51, at 50, there's another one at 25. They just came in. It was very, very obvious to me. So I started to establish a long position in the morning of this 64. I actually got in some lower as well, but not big size. And then added to it here, and the market opened at 9 o'clock, and I just kept buying pullbacks all day. Every time the market pulled back to the top of value, I just added. When the market came in here, I added all the way, and the target was this 69.30, which I was going on about all morning in the pit, on the forum and on Twitter. I mean, that was the target, and we got there. We didn't actually get there in the pit session. We got there just an hour or so after. We just see that target area again here. And then today, obviously we came in, we see a selling balance to the sell side, and we opened up inside of value. So again, I was looking short off the open. We came in, and I was just starting to sell the developing value, and basically it was not quite the high, but it was around the high of the upper end of yesterday's trade. And there was some stuff that I was looking at structurally. I mean, we broke one time frame in here, and there's a very, very clear level around this sort of 86 sort of 44 area, and the market, we came in and we just see this rotation back up to that point of control in that exact area that I was looking at, and we found sellers. So I started selling it in A, and in B we see this big spike down, and it's very, very obvious on the time change here. I mean, they spiked it down, there's this accumulation, and on the time change they ripped this market all the way back higher. I mean, we couldn't see any, we broke the one time framing, so I mean, I didn't actually get out. I got fully scaled here into a good proportion of my trade, and then I exit my trade on the break here because we couldn't see any further downside, and I basically added back to. I established a new core position off this 1.5 standard deviation. I mean, if we look at this, it just lines perfect. So 68.72, and I used confidence for my short on this week's VWAP. So this week's VWAP was up here, and this is where I established my short position on the day. Again, it's balanced, two-way trade, rotational was expected, market makers coming in, buyers, sellers, blah blah blah. We all know the score, and then we see the market blast down, and we just see this sideways accumulation here, and then into the end, the JK period became. I mean, there was buyers accumulating. It was clearly buyers accumulating here. I mean, I'll just quickly show you this on the footprint. I mean, there's all these buyers coming in. I mean, here you can just see it. All these passive buyers, more passive buyers. A bit of mixed two-way trade here, but we could see all these buyers accumulating inventory here. And then just the predictable thing happened, and the market came in. They spiked it down into the close. You can see all the stops getting hit here, and then as the stops get hit, which makes these buyers sell. The real big boys are coming in, they're just buying up everything. I mean, all these are basically just, so everybody got long here, and then they forced them out of the market, made them cover, and then they bought all these prices lower. And obviously since that Globex, since the pit closed, I mean, look where we're trading now, 67.78. I mean, there's a demand here, and they're buying it. So I mean, once they get all their buy orders filled, they're just starting to buy the market up overnight. I wouldn't even be surprised to see an open above this 3-day balance tomorrow. I mean, I'm not predicting anything. I never predict. We always react off market generated information. If you predict, you will lose, and you will lose consistently. You cannot predict in this industry. You have to use market generated information and logic. If you use market generated information and logic and you react, then you will be able to be a consistent trader with the correct education. Anyway, I'm not going to go into anything anymore. I mean, it's been a spectacular 4 days, just absolutely awesome, and just so much fear in this market over that past sort of 3 days into that OPEC meeting. So very, very interesting into the year, and it's going to be an interesting trade next year, I'm telling you now. Anyway, I'll leave it at that, and if you have any questions as usual, please ask me on the forum, and good luck, and I'll catch you soon.